Thank you for joining. We'll wait for some time to allow all participants to join in. Till then, a couple of housekeeping checks. If you can hear me clearly, I request you to please type in yes in the chat box window. I repeat, if you can hear me clearly, I request you to please type in yes in the chat box window. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with our speakers by typing in questions and comments using the question pane. We will try to answer as many questions as possible in our Q&A section, which is after the presentation. Also, we have a special offer exclusively for our webinar attendees. We will be telling you at the end of the webinar. I can see a lot of yes from our viewers. Okay, the number is increasing. I think we are good to go. So first of all, on behalf of Harbinger Systems, a warm welcome to all of you, and good morning and good afternoon. I'm Ishan Sarpota, Digital Content Writer for Marketing at Harbinger Systems, and your host for today for the Automation of Test Automation webinar. Let me introduce our distinguished speaker for today's session, Mr. Avinash Magdum, who is the General Manager for Quality at Harbinger Systems. Avinash, with 20+ years of experience in software testing and development and 5 years in academics, has been instrumental in building innovative solutions for specific software testing needs, particularly in automation and performance engineering. Avinash is also involved in creating accelerators and frameworks for software testing solutions in Harbinger Systems. He is an eminent speaker at the national and international conferences and academic institutions as well. Without further ado, I hand over the presentation to Avinash. You take it forward.
Hi, hello, good morning and good afternoon. This is Avinash Magdum, and today's I will walk you through this presentation on the testing of test automation. In this entire presentation, so how I divided is, so we'll be first start with how this automation has progressed in last 15-20 years. So a brief overview about the different development or how it has changed from starting from the then we'll be explaining about the exact problem enabled or the forced us to come up with a complete. That's when the testing of was born. So we have one of the application was, and for that we were unable to do the automation with the standard way, and to do that we had come up with this new approach. So before we go to the actual solution, we'll explain about what typically the customized applications are all about, how they are built and how the customization information is stored. After that, we'll go through the different challenges one can face when trying to automate such customized application. I will go through the most important part of the presentation about explaining step-by-step process of Harbinger solution of automating this automation process, which will help us in automating the mostly customized applications. So, as we have used our own framework, HIHIAF, as part of this, and we'll explain to some extent about how this framework is used, how the architecture of this framework, and the different benefits of this framework for doing the static automation. So, although it is used for static automation, initially, we have now incorporated that part in this entire process, and now we are also using it for dynamic automation. Then we'll see the architecture part, benefit part, and lastly we'll cover the takeaways from this approach. And before Q&A, Ishan give a special offer which we can see that. So let me start with the first slide, progress of test automation. So I'm sure many of you have done or many have seen this phase across last 15-20 years. I remember 1998 when I first time started developing automation. We had the X runner from HP, at that time it was Mercury, and we started with using the automation by record and play type of. Soon we found that there are some challenges in that, and there's a lot of maintenance required, and slowly we moved from, of course, this was not only for our organization, it was again almost everywhere in the world. So they moved from the record and play to descriptive programming, which gave many benefits over record and play, and they were able to use a lot of reusable components, write their own libraries programmatically, and then make the application very robust. After that, the different frameworks came in, and one of the popular framework was keyword-driven framework. So in the keyword-driven framework, we are having these different keywords which are commonly used: object actions, object types and their actions, and the data values. So this was developed, I think, started in by HP, and it was initially deployed for QTP, but afterwards everyone was able to use this and extend it to any automation tool they are using. After a few years, we had the concept of scriptless automation, where we don't have to really write the normal scripts or automation scripts in standard programming languages, but just in a business type of scenarios. We write in business statements, which in plain English, which anybody can understand. So they are not really scripts; they are just you can say the points how the flow is going to be, and then it was driven by different frameworks and drivers to get the actual execution on the thing. And now we are coming to the next part, the automation of test automation process itself. So the entire process of building the automation itself will be programmatically done or dynamically done. That how we have done it, we will see in the next few slides. But before we go to that, we'll see why we started all of this. So consider a customization application. So we had faced this, and I'm sure we will also must have faced this sometime in past. So consider a customization application which has been deployed by more than 80 customers or many more customers, which has got thousands plus test cases. It's supported on all major browsers like IE, Firefox, Chrome, and Safari. Now, there's a new release coming up which has a lot of new features and bug fixes, and once that build is available or all the features submitted, we need to test it for all the customers, because it is supposed to be deployed across many customers. May not be 80 customers, but maybe for 30, 40 customers, they want to deploy it, and we have to ensure that this application will work across all the customers. Now, available time is just 2 weeks, and we have got only 5 QA engineers to test everything and certify it and give go live. So how do we create the test plan? So any test manager or the test lead who wants to handle this has the very challenging task. So how do we accommodate all this test scope in our test plan? So because of this constraints about time and resources, what he will do is he'll pick up say 5 important customers. He will identify 200 most critical test cases or most important test cases from the entire test suite. Then he will distribute 4 browsers and 200 test cases among the 5 engineers. So there is no other way. Although he knows that this is not the best way to plan the test, to cover everything, because of the constraints and time limits, he has to wait. And the cases does not get executed. And most importantly, some of the past test cases for customer B. So after some day reporting some issues, and when we asked to the tested it for all, felt huge defect leakages. That means to be filed by customer. For now, we expect 5 to maximum can leak. We hear more than 30%. So huge satisfaction. Have immediate hot fixes or maybe ask for another maintenance release in very short notice, and it will increase the overall high maintenance cost. So does it look familiar to your problems? So this is typical. This is exactly the problem we faced, and then we start thinking we can't go away this and just do manual testing. And we need to automate that. And then when we thought about automation first time, before that, actually, what I will explain is what are these customization application made up of, because we are talking about the customized application. So let me first explain about there are different ways of how the customer application can be customized or configured. So typically what happens is customer will specify their requirements or about the customization in some Word or Excel and just send it to us. Then we'll create the configuration file from that, or sometimes what we'll do is there will be separate customization UI in the application itself. So through that UI, we'll enter that information for the customer. And if there are 10 customers going to use this application, we have to enter 10 different information. So all this customization information will either go through configuration file or customization UI into the application. Again, there are two ways. Either it could be directly integrated in the build program, or it could be stored in the database or XML as a backend. So if it goes through build program, then the application will have within the code itself all the customization information, and that will be in a way static application for one customer. So we have to build, suppose the 10 customers are going to deploy this build, so we have to build this 10 times. So every time it will use a separate configuration file and build it. But this is very inefficient way of configuration. So nowadays people are putting in the database, so that when they specify the customer, the application will render the customization specific information from the database, and what he sees as the application is the customized application for that customer. And in our server, we'll have this customization information for all the customers who are going to deploy. And then when you start the application and specify the customer name, we'll get the application which is specific to that customer. Now, if you want to start thinking about the automation, a lot of automation. Well, whatever automation framework we use or object properties. So this would be different. So even the application is same, still you can see that UI is quite different. Sometimes even if the UI objects are same, but their properties could be different. Internally, some of the business rules could be different because he may want to follow certain things, or there could be different options, and based on those actions, some different action could be triggered. So also customized by the customer. The navigation flow could be different. We have all these steps. We see almost because each for each customer, we have to take care of 4 main challenges which will automate such a standard or method typically we using all words for static application. If there is configuration or customization, just can't happen. The solution after a lot of solving going to how exactly with an approach implement developing a program in the gen and actions was getting the statements for same framework. So same as what we are using any other framework, and you know statement certain type of objects and actions for that type of keyword. So if you know that, then you should build a program so that based on the different types of keywords or objects or action, it will automatically generate this code for you. So first you build up this program so that the script should be generated programmatically. The next part was to understand how the implementation of the customization is done. So for our example, or like our particular case, the customization was stored in the database. So we first wanted to get that extra information out. So we wrote some SQL queries because we understood first how the customization is stored in the different tables and what format they stored. So based on that, with the help of development team, we identified some SQL queries and then extracted customized information, which was nothing but the different types of objects, their properties, and the sequence for each, how they occur in each page. Suppose each page had say 20 objects, it will give the list of all the objects, their properties, and also the sequence in which they appear on the screen. and this output was there for almost all the pages. So if our application has 400 pages, we'll have such 400 files which will provide all this information for each page. Then we'll execute this analysis program with this customization information as input. Whatever customization information we have extracted for all the given as input and to generate. So we generate three outputs. The object repository, the state of and data file. Explain what. So these are the three outputs coming out of. Now the data file template will just consist with only the field names, variable data. This is the data templates from the actual data of data or the execute the scripts of data for combinations. Set of one single cases. So we use this data-driven approach here. Multiple data files. So this is all one-time process. Need to insert a change. The scripts are created through our program. It will, and we know this case. And then it could be, say, for example, 10 steps. At the 10th step, there could be some. We need to, and again, we want to, from the main script, code snippet, and as part of one time, what we did was the call which so this would be very small, maybe two how complex, but still and by the specific when you generate the dynamic care of it. We put this dynamic generation to adding about in the automation framework, what we have executed all scripts are ready. We can simply use our own framework or whatever to actually execute all the scripts. So it will execute entire test suite for one particular browser or one particular browser OS combinations. Now this step we can replace other OS combinations because we would be supporting multiple browser and OS combinations to identify on what different browsers or OSs for each repeating till the past are generated multiple times. We are having and also only one operating system. Then we'll be using those operating systems to execute it, just to ensure. Of course, parallelly it will not be done. So if you have 4 different specified in the which browser you are using, starts execution content browser and all the specified will be. Then we will this to complete. It will generate different codes, detailed as a well. So we'll see that we'll validate those and then file and complete one particular. It will be done for the step number. In fact, 3 to 10 because repeating as so we'll be repeating this step for every customer. So the third step is actually about extracting the customized information. So you can see the third step, right? So extract the customized information. So this will be done for every customer. So that we are now covering all the customer, and since it's automated, we can start this. In fact, we can keep it generated earlier itself, and then run one of two machines. We can run all them, and then for every release, we 4 to 11, or in fact, repeat. This can be done once unless they are again. So, process of dynamically generating them, customization information. So it will help you to completely automate, and then we'll be able to cover the almost as good as 90 to 100%, and like reduce. So yeah, those will be covered, more satisfied, because there will be hardly any way to do the field. We'll see about Harbinger. So actual thing which we did for one of our customers, first of each feature for 2, 3, 4 pages had, which will just or the object information about those pages, and information is generated for all this. So this we have to have each feature, and after running all of them, we'll ultimately get a set of customized object information for each and every page. So to the diagram program, you can see it has 3 outputs: code, single object repository, and the data templates. So the dynamic scripts first time which are generated, and we are not directly at one time create, verify them, and those calls will be made in the dynamic scripts. So with the help of this executable scripts and object repository and the data file which will execute through our framework, that is, and generate the report of the testing. So this was the actual thing which we for customer. Now we'll go a little bit HIHF framework. So it is Harbinger integrated hybrid, we give short name as HIHF. So we are test automation. So we'll just explain the flow, how we did for when it is not custom application. Identified once, maybe development tool, get to the properties of that. So we can select unique property. Test scenario is captured, and the steps are converted in object names and user actions, and creation of sets for data. The test suite is executed with generic the summary and detailed reports. Report of the detailed reports, and based on that we can file the defect. So this is a simple process we follow for the static test automation. And this framework we actually made as a part of the process which for dynamic generation also. But the script creation part is not taken from, using only the framework part for it, and framework the format is there. The name extraction use or the script compliant to this framework, which is a program. So the architecture of HIHF, it contains different libraries from selling and also the connection mechanism to. So the purpose was most of the technologies, whether it's the Windows web-based application, CL application, or even the mobile app. Framework is which takes multiple technologies well as mobile applications, Windows applications. So small application developed called as earlier it's an Excel format. That means since we know the flow, we're just adding in the specific format about etc. But then we realized the process and also typing the thing in Excel, people could do some even if one spelling is incorrect property, the script could fail. To build a script builder, so all the objects or like keywords and objects are picked up, which would be directly from drop-down list. So there will be drop-down and objects and their properties from the drop-down list, and just it will generate the sequence manually there. So it increases the efficiency or the productivity of script development, as well as it eliminates the possibility of errors. And once we have those scripts, we can run through HIHF and it will generate reports. So firstly, it will provide us of each script and whether it's pass or fail. Pass means each and every step of that is passed, and fail means at least one step in that script is failed. So once we find, we can click some of the scripts. We can click on the link because that is a drill down report. So it will create a link for the fail, and when you click on the fail link, it will open, which will specify the pass or fail, and we can exactly locate which step the script was failing. And there is another built-in functionality in our framework that whenever any step is failed, it will automatically take the screenshot so that the user or the tester or even the developer can find or know exactly what was happening when something went wrong. So it helps in debugging or fixing the issue quite fast, because the exact situation of when it failed is actually captured, even though you are not there. So even though it is running in the say switch off mode, when you see the report and when you see the fails, you can see screenshots of all the failed events. And these scripts could be say executed on different types of applications. So application could be, as I said earlier, it could be desktop applications like Windows applications. It could be web-based applications. It could be mobile applications, like it could be Android or iOS. It could be web apps, hybrid apps, or even native apps. So it will work in the same way. And in fact, we have one of the clients, we had an application which was having multiple technology, in the sense they had a web-based application, and in one of the scenarios they had say download link, and when you click there, it will open a window dialog box. So window dialog box cannot be recognized by any web-based tool. So we have this framework wherein we incorporate the auto-IT library. So our keyword will call that internally, and then even that flow or that events are also captured and in the same script. So if you just read the script, you may not know even whether it would be executing on web or Windows. So it is very finely integrated with the entire script. So user doesn't have to learn about different tools or techniques to automate Windows or web or even mobile. So high-level overview of this HIHF. It is a hybrid approach. That is a data-driven plus keyword-driven, which is Selenium-based framework, which provides benefit of both keyword-driven and data-driven structure. It integrates Selenium libraries for web applications, auto-IT libraries for Windows and CL applications, and it uses APM for which is to create the scripts by just selecting keywords of drop-down list. It's like Windows, Linux, and Mac. So like web, Windows, CLI, Android and iOS, native as well as web, standard 4 browsers, IE, Firefox. These are benefits of it. Like the main benefit is like any skills could develop the automation script. So it's a type of scriptless automation. It writes the scripts in plain English and MS Excel format. We can have 80% of the automation scripts ready even if before the build is available. So one of the challenge in agile testing or agile type applications, you won't be able to start the automation unless the feature is implemented or the build is available to you. But we can start the automation just by looking at the screen mockups we can create more than 80% of the script ready, and only the object repository will have dummy property because we don't know exactly what properties use. So once the application is built or available for testing, we just add the property there and complete the script. But since we have very less time, we'll be able to build that entirely before the sprint, and we'll be able to execute in the same sprint. So the benefit is that this is very much useful for agile testing, where we have got very less time, and typically in 2 week sprint, more than 1 week is given for actual development. But we don't have to wait for the build. We can actually start creating automation as soon as we have got the requirements ready, or the use cases ready, or the screen mockups ready. We get very faster ROI with this. There is a high degree of reusability of different snippets, or different scripts, from very simple to very complex steps. We can, wherever scripts are repeated or steps are repeated, we can write a separate script and you just call them. We can develop the automation script in the same sprint. That is one of the benefits which for agile testing. It increases the typical automation productivity by more than 40%. So these are some of the benefits for HIHF when we use for static automation. And when we combine it with the dynamic generation, we'll also get, which will take care of the customization part. So finally, we'll come to the takeaways for this entire process. It will provide a mechanism to address the automation challenges of customizable applications. And nowadays, I think most of the applications are highly customized. It takes care of changes of UI object properties, navigation flow across releases. See, this is very hidden benefit. So far we just started with customization, taking care of customization. But when we realize that in the next build, when we take the when we extract the customized information, it will also extract the change information. So whenever there is any change in the UI objects or property or even navigation flow, we get that extracted new information when we extract it as a part of our SQL scripts. And then when we create the scripts will be able to take care of all the changes. So in a way, it is self-maintaining script. So more than 80 to 90% maintenance is done programmatically. So this is a very big benefit of this entire process. And then we can, it allows us to develop the automation script programmatically, except the one-time verification code and checkpoints. It increases the test coverage drastically because we are able to cover all customization of different customers, whichever we want to test. And it also covers all the different browsers and operating systems. The overall test coverage is drastically increased. Otherwise, we have to just select some subset of the test case, which is typically risk-based testing, and we have to expect a lot of defects from customer. So if we are using this, since test coverage is drastically reduced, it will minimize the maintenance efforts substantially, as well as reduce the defect leakages, and ultimate result is highest customer satisfaction. So that's all about this entire process. So now we'll go for the Q&A session. But before that, I think Ishan has some excellent news for you. So what a special offer.
Thank you, Avinash. That was a great session on test automation. Now, the moment we are all waiting for, we have a special offer for all webinar attendees. I'm glad to invite you to the speaker session, which is harnessing the power of linked open data cloud for better decision making at the Cloud Expo 2015. We will describe how to access, reorganize, and load useful data from the linked open data cloud in your environment to enable big data analytics. This would be followed by a case study on how healthcare providers would benefit by such data sets from open data cloud to make informed decisions in their practice. Hold on, but there's another offer as well. You will also get a chance to have 1 hour of free consultation from our automation experts to discuss your automation challenges. So moving on, this Q&A, we will be taking questions from the audience now. I remind you once again, if you have any queries, please type in the questions pane. If due to time constraints, you are not able to cover your questions in today's session, we'll definitely send you the Q&A document covering answers to all the questions raised today. Okay, I have the first questions coming in, Avinash. So yeah, it's going on increasing. So let's read out the first one. The question here is, would this mechanism work to generate scripts programmatically and for self-maintenance if the application is not customizable?
Yes, the answer is yes. The only thing is, because one of the steps which we had specified is that extracting the customized information. So when we say customized information, in a way it is the information about how the application is rendering the UI. So if this information can be extracted, we can use it for even static applications which are not customized, but still we can get about how the object UI objects are presented on the UI. And if that information is available, then we can use this mechanism to generate the scripts programmatically. And there is no need to actually, recognize those objects from the front end, but we are actually recognizing from the back end. So we can, if we can extract this information about the objects by some queries or something, then we will be able to use this mechanism for the even non-customization application also.
Okay, thanks, Avinash. We have one more question rolling out. The question here is, would the Dynagen program have to be developed for every application?
No, this Dynagen program is specific to the framework you are using. So if you are using this framework for different applications, the same Dynagen program will work for everything. So we don't have to write, because suppose you have 4 different customers or 4 different applications you are building for, say, different customers. So for each application, you don't have to build it. You have to build it only once, and that will be because it is actually dependent upon to which framework you are using. So once the framework is same, we can use the same program for any number of applications.
Okay, thank you for that. And I guess we have one more. Is HIHIAF, which is Harbinger's integrated hybrid automation, available as a product?
So we started with using, so as we are aware, Harbinger is a services company where we are having many customers which give us their entire product for development, and we do all the standard development services, including testing and automation stuff. So for them, we started with building this, and for all those customers which we are developing the product and also doing the testing, we use at our location as our own add-on service. But for a couple of customers who had this onshore team and their team wanted to use it, we had a license mechanism to provide it as a product, and we have provided for 2 customers. It is as a license. So if anybody is interested, we can provide this HIHF as a product also.
That's great. That's great to know. Okay, yeah, we have one more question which is coming in from one of our viewers. How do I extract the customization information of my application?
Yeah, this is actually very, I would say, specific to application. So the most important point here is we need to understand how this application is built. So we need to talk with the development team or whoever has developed this application, understand the architecture, and main information we need is about how this objects or UI is rendered on the application. So it will change from different application to application. But once we understand how this customization information is stored, because customization information has to be stored somewhere, right? Because when you go change the customer, we know that the different objects are coming. So to render those different objects as per the customization, that information has to be stored somewhere. So we need to understand where it is stored and how it is stored. And once we know that, then we can write, suppose it is a database, we can use some SQL query, or if it is stored in some XML, we can write some script which will parse that and generate that information. So this process of extracting information will depend upon how this customization information is stored in the application.
That's great. Considering the time, Avinash, I think we'll be taking the last question in. There's a question from one of the viewers. If my application is supported on desktops as well as on mobile, would a single test suite work for both?
Yeah, so this is actually for the, also this is very relevant for the static applications which are supported on desktop as well as mobile. So there are again different scenarios. Like suppose your application is purely web-based and same application is also available on mobile as a web application. So in that scenario, we can use the same scripts as long as the flow is same. Only the object repository could be different because the way of course the technology used in iOS and Android could be quite different than on desktop. So we have to create a separate object repository. But if the flow is same, we can use the similar scripts. Obviously, while putting it to the mobile, there could be some different flows or some of the screens could be different. So we have to see that. So as it is, it may not be used, but we can use reuse a lot of code from that desktop thing. But importantly, if suppose it is supported on say Windows, Android as well as iOS. So in that scenario, we can actually use the exact same scripts provided the flow is exactly same. Only the object repository for Android and iOS could be different. But the scripts once we develop for say Android, we can use as it is on iOS, as long as the flow and pages or screens are exactly same. Does it answer?
Yeah, we got a reply from that. I think it does. Okay, Avinash, today's webinar has been recorded, and everyone will receive an email with a link to view a recording of the event along with the Q&A document. So for those who have missed a question or do have more questions to ask us, yes, they can surely drop us an email and we will get back to them.
Actually, she still came up for questions are pending.
Okay.
So we will definitely answer those offline. Basically, we'll put that in a document and submit those to all the attendees.
Sure. That will be great. Okay, also for the webinar attendees, don't forget to avail your free offer, which is the VIP Golden Pass to the Cloud Expo 2015, or else you can get 1 hour of free consultation for your assignment, for testing assignment. Also, you need to, for the offers, you have to write to us to hsinfo@harbingergroup.com. That's the email address. I would repeat it, hsinfo@harbingergroup.com.
Thanks for joining this. And
with this, we conclude today's session. Once again, thank you for joining us and have a great day ahead. Thank you.